Former Air Force pilot Carl Mollnow. Several years prior to the crash, Mollnow warned that some flight procedures for the transport planes were unsafe, and that pilots of these planes were being asked to fly without adequate rest. Actually, crew members in the fatal crash hadn't slept for 30 hours. Now Mollnow says the same conditions exist today, that some transport planes flying in the Puget Sound area are actually manned by pilots flying without adequate rest.
A lot of the accidents that happened in MAC in the last 4 or 5 years, I think all of them had some crew rest problems in there. MAC has admitted it in their reports that they don't let out to the media, but they won't admit it to the media or anybody else.
What won't they admit?
They won't admit that the crew rest was a factor in these accidents.
Several other pilots we talked to agree with Mollnow, but they declined to be interviewed because Mollnow was drummed out of the Air Force on grounds that he is unbalanced. Some of the pilots also say that top Air Force brass are so out of touch with reality, they don't really know what's going on with these transport missions. The officers connected with transport didn't have time to talk with us. But this man, 4-star General James Hill, head of the North American Air Defense Command, today defended the Air Force grievance procedures.
Canadian and United States, and there are many channels in the Air Force available to people to make complaints, which are the utilization of which result in investigation of any kind of complaint which it may be. That investigation is done without recrimination to the individual.
But the Air Force now admits that some pilots on this base did complain about fatigue and flight procedures. But they say these problems have been corrected and there is no danger to the public now. Meantime, former Major Carl Mollnow, the pilot who warned about the earlier crash, is now suing the Air Force for more than $1 million. Nowadays, Mollnow is a house husband who wishes he was still flying. You predicted that crash. Are you predicting another one?
Well, if they don't start changing their ways and pay attention to the crew members and what the crew members say, because the crew members are the ones that know what's going on out there, they're going to have some more.
Mollnow says these planes fly over residential areas. I'd hate to be right twice.
Doug Kriegel's report on fatigue and pilots. In November, it's the auto show. In January, it's the boat show. And today, it's the computer fair at the University of Washington. Our science editor, Harry Wappler, is here to tell us all about it. Harry?
Okay, Kim. This marvelous campaign. Delaying